Hola and welcome to Josef's Model Railway and Toy Room. Thank you so much as always for joining me. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You don't need to like, follow or subscribe to any of the videos I put out there. Just put them out there where I can. Have a holly jolly great time doing so. Now, we are of course working on this little corner behind the camera there. So we're going to get straight back into it today. We're certainly far from finished, but today we've got to get a bit of earthworks done, and we've got to sort of lay down the base amount of dirt as we wait on some key pieces. I'm waiting on some trees and bits and pieces like that. So let's just get stuck into it straight away and see where we end up in this one.
Now, before we commence today, let's just take a special moment and a little bit of a peep here, because this timed out at the exact same time I'm doing what I'm doing. That Mill Brook Railroad had brought a video out. So this is so just a quick synopsis here, and I'll just read it straight from the YouTube description. But today we are at Nasonville Valley Railroad in Rhode Island, tackling the Northern Loop with a full day of track work at Father J. Finley, better known as the Steaming Priest. Recently added quite a bit of new track, and it was time to ballast and tamp it in. With help from the Northeast Live Steamers crew, including Sam Poole of Plum Cove Studios and Russ Page of Clark's Trading Post fame, we built the foundation for smoother running in the months ahead. From buckets of stone, and let's just take the special moment here to notice the technique that they're doing. I think is wonderful, because we're going to come back and explore this with the rest of the feature yard section for our heritage line, where we're going to get some sort of an excavator or some sort of a backhoe, albeit I really am trying to work on a telehandler but having trouble to find one with a bucket on it, where of course we are loading the ballast up into this situation, into the buckets. We're not going to use our backs here. Pop them back into the bucket and the tractor can take it where needed. But it's a true team effort here, and there's nothing like seeing a good working session with good company and hard work and plenty of laughs along the way. So it's just interesting that they're using a similar type of ballast and the colors we're trying to chase here, and it's nice to see this. So in the previous video we touched on and covered some examples, well, here's actually one that's actually being laid. So I thought it was really good timing. And of course the feature which we're going to be talking about in this video, and we did touch on briefly in a previous one, was those pedestrian crossing lights. Now we need to try and create a scene where they're going to be finding a home. Although not in this video, but we're at least laying a tremendous bit of framework and groundwork, as we can see in the footage here, even with their unique ballasting track cleaning tool, which is obviously just a Ryobi, not a leaf blower, but an automatic broom unit that they've got a custom jig on, and I think that's just fantastic stuff. But certainly a big special shout out to the crew for allowing me to share and pass on some of the footage. I mean, it's a wonderful channel. It's tremendous layouts that they seem to be working on, and it really is something different because of the scenery that I see in Australia. They're gearing up, what would I suppose be at this time of year. They're coming into their fall before winter approaches, and it's a great time to get things done as we now enter the spring. And let's just take a quick note here. Won't go into too much detail at the moment, but here are just a few, Googled images of people with these types of ride-on model railway layouts, train railroads, whatever you want to call them, with an actual little crossing which we're trying to create. So I'm taking some really great little inspiration on what they've been up to with those. Anyway, let's get cracking. Just a quick recap. We pick up where we had just left it all to dry, where we put a bit of putty to smooth out where the cork was and remove the pins for the cork on the pedestrian crossing. Well, welcome back. Let's grab my favorite modeling tool, parchment paper, or if you like to call it baking paper. And here's the beautiful module where we left it from last time. So as you can see, it doesn't quite fit where I'd like it to fit. But what we're going to do now is take a bit of brown paint, any brown paint, whatever you like. I have got great results with this Swampland Green, it is, by British Paints. And I have too. I have the original. I just get them made up in the sample pots for less than $10. and I have the original, and then also you can see this one's actually been watered down about 50-50. And that goes a heck of a long way. But what's really good when it's thin is it really bleeds into all those key areas that you need it to go into, especially with this foam board. So really, we don't just do a base layer. We actually end up doing 2 base layers. But what you can see I'm doing just here is we're just applying a bit of weight on either end to just try and keep it straight. Let me further explain. Where I can, obviously I have a little fan heater running. During daytime only, we make excess solar power.
How's this for a practical and alluring Father's Day gift? Now I can really see what I'm doing.
Once that's dried, remember a thin layer is pretty much done in 2-3 hours. We come back with more, but this time we're liberally putting it on, and we're doing our first dump of dirt. Because the paint's sticky enough, let's not waste time. So as you can see, it's just a bit of the 50% watered down swampland green with brown, which is what it is, that we put down, and we've just dusted it with dirt. So this is just the first coat. Don't worry too much about this. I've still got to come back with some stonework and edges and things like that, but we just want to get this down so it gives us a nice neutral canvas to work upon. You can see this time I've just gently got them weighted down to try and, because usually when you're going to put your paint and or glues and things, it has a habit of basically bending up on either end, and you get that kind of half pipe skating or BMX riding kind of effect. So we're going to just try and keep it level like this if we can. Once we've got this done, again, it's just the regular dirt from the garden. We're going to tap it onto that baking sheet, recycle our dirt back in, and let's get to that next step, shall we? I am going to, again, I'm not going to add the heat, but I am just going to put the fan on just to promote some better drying for us at the moment. Well, now let's recycle that first round of dirt. It's quite simple. It's just the paint's dried up and the dirt is left over. Tap, 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 brush, brush, brush. And let's slide it off back into its original container. So yes, there's a little fan heater, and in the night time, or if needed, as talked about in a very early video number 2 or 3 or 4, the room's completely sealed up. There's no natural ventilation or breeze whatsoever. So the little fan heater, even if it's just on fan, just promotes some slightly better drying time. The daytime we have the heat running because, well, why wouldn't you? Free solar. I missed this part when I was doing the bowling alley because I forgot to put it together in the video. But basically we're going to take a medium brown talus, a little drop of fine buff, and a little bit of the light grey as well. So we've just got a little cup here that we can decant into. Unfortunately, I'm not going to recycle this. So there's going to seem like there's going to be quite a bit of wastage here. But it's just the way this one, the way the Scotch finger is going to crumble on this one. Okay. I'm going to throw a few little greys in there just to really stir the pot up a bit. Okay. That'll look good. Get a little mix around there. Time for those magic fingers. And we'll decant some PVA straight on and use the finger just to spread it around. This is more the underside. A lot of this you won't see a lot of, but it's important to get this layered up just right. And again, just take the stone and sprinkle it straight on and recycle it where you can, but any haphazard way, get it down and onto that particular section. And the important bit in the process, which again, we didn't see in the bowling alley bit, was we did do this, and just while that glue is still there, and the stones are quite large, of course it is, we're just going to take some dirt and brush it straight on top. Don't worry about how heavy it's going to look, and it's going to look a bit howdy-doody. It's just to fill in, because it'll brush out nicely. We're still not done here, because particularly there's going to be trees on the edge, and we're going to actually come in with a whole bunch of crushed leaves, just like we did at the edge of the bowling alley. So we still got, this takes time to layer up. So we've already, in what you're seeing at the moment, since we put that first paint down, we have already been at this for a full 24 hours. And I think that's the point. You can't be in a hurry to get this done. You've got to just take your time,
layer by layer, but it will reveal itself perfectly. Now, I do it the express way, as I've talked about. It may not be the most professional, and I know I get a lot of criticism about my sort of gung-ho methods, but I've got a lot of living to do in my life, so I need to try and get nice results quickly, and it works for me. This will leave to dry for another 6 or so hours.
So just some close-ups here, and you can see it looks like there's way too much dirt, but don't worry too much about that. When we tap it out, all shall be revealed. Excellent. Okay, let's just have a quick Google around for some images of other types of layouts like this. And I'm just really paying attention to scenery and the ballast and the way the tracks sit. It's a little bit different than the bigger real stuff that we see. And we need to kind of get a bit of detail into this. So I think these shots are magnificent. We're also needing to use a smaller ballast to create this, and texture it slightly different. This is all going to evolve as we keep going on, but most of them have some sort of gravel or ballast laid in, and as you can see here, there's concrete on some, but this one I think we're going to go with we want to get the ballast, and this is probably our best reference shot we're going to chase. I think that's exactly the texture I'm looking for. Just absolutely perfect. And I think we're going to have to sort of paint that track or something. I'm not sure. We need to define two colors. Rusty rail looking thing, and it's more of a grey looking sleeper they're using as opposed to a black, but here we go. There we go.
Now the next step we're going to do is focus on just the edges here. I really want it to stay almost the same height as where the grass is going to be. It's not the sort of shoulder you get with an actual train, or when we try and model it on the model railway where we build up a nice shoulder. Garden ones usually stay reasonably pretty much at the same height, and we're not far off of that, but we're going to just add a little bit of buff for creating this kind of ballast effect. And in this instance, we will then color it with weathering powder, so a little bit different than what we usually do.
So as always, a nice quick cleanup. Let's reset our parchment paper or baking paper. Now, see with the glue, I actually followed it right around the edge, right against that shoulder of where the cork is and the bottom layer. And then I just smooth more PVA straight on the top of the cork. And here we are just dumping down what would be, I suppose, the initial aggregate we're going to use for the process in this. So we tap, and we can just keep recycling it, and we're going to just leave and let it dry. And as you can see, as always, there's no dramas here, just recycling that fine buff back in. Oh no, I'm cheating once again, but actually I'm really happy with this knock cobblestone kind of paved roadway, footpath, whatever. You'll see I do go back and just take a little extra bit with the scissors to create an edging on the other side, because usually it's just a sidewalk or footpath. But in this situation, where you have an edge, I snip the other bit out, so I've got nice two edges to give me this direct look. And here we are. We take our PVA now, and we're going to start to build up the dirt around where the ballast was. We get a more natural flow to it. Well, I think we will. So we basically have really dumped this seriously in dirt. We'll leave it to dry now, and we haven't glued down in. We've embedded our track.
So while we'll wait for that to dry, let's turn our attention now to a new video.
And of course, we already did see that video. For those of you that didn't watch the process of building this little N-scale lighted crossing guard build, just go back a few videos. There's a link to it, surely somewhere in the direction on your screen, if you want to check that one out.
Of course, we're going to need some trees to sort of come around, which is going to be a key important thing, similar to what we did with the bowling alley, but we're going to use these sort of bigger trees. Still got one left over from that. And of course, we go to the extra detail here of putting a little bit of extra detail on the trunk where possible. And of course, we will be doing that again. But I can't do much until the trees are in place to see how much room I've got, so we're not going to get too carried away. So
Right, okay, so that's a lot of dirt sitting on there, and we've given that actually 3-4 days actually to dry out, so we're going to tap it off and get it off. One thing you don't really see me do quickly here is we're going to speed up the footage. I did just take a little brush just to brush key bits out. Now we still need to get more of a shoulder onto that where the pathway is, so what we're going to do is we're going to put the PVA down thick right to the edge here. And just pay attention, because while it looks like I am and literally sprinkling some dirt back on to get more of a shoulder starting to build up, this is the bits that when I sprinkle it on with a stocking over a cup and we get that fine dirt out, there's some slightly bigger granules that are left over, and that's what's in the container. And it'll just give a little more of a definition as we build it up a bit. And of course, even though there was PVA, to just get a nice sort of bankment onto that shoulder and sort of slope it off for drainage, we of course are just taking a little bit of wet water with our pipette or eyedropper. And of course, we're just going to take the scenic cement, which of course is just Mod Podge water and some dishwashing liquid, and we decant it to bleed it back up through in that capillary action. And we're going to leave that one for a couple of weeks actually to dry. Another thing I'm just going to mention quickly now, the board's going to, I'm not sure how long the leads are, so if the board has to stay, we should be able to tuck it just under our styrofoam foam board like we have before and carve it out. Otherwise we'll need to extend those, and that's always a bit of a doozy. And while we could just pop a little hole down here for the wiring, and as you know, Faulty Towers just lifts up and we get to the trapdoor and go, you'll notice just there's a tiny little gap we could keep running down to. And wouldn't you know it, as we turn the camera around, I'll apply a little bit of light here. That's where it is. So we would only have to come to exactly where that bush is sitting, and I could put a hole in and just trail it off this way. I'm not too sure just yet, but that's the plan of attack. So yes, that's the way it's going to go, and it's done quite well. Now we're going to come back with some powders, and we're actually taking a dark wash, the Vallejo one I always use for dark grey vehicles and things like that. And we're just going to put it on and leave it there to sit. Now, as it's going to dry, it's going to bring out more of the picture that we were originally looking for. Let's go back to that now and have a quick peep. Yes, it's not really the greys, and it's not that. And because we're on a smaller scale, we really need to bring out the detail in it. So that's the plan of attack. And just off of the screen, in case you missed it, that's just a bit of umber wash. We're taking on a little scrap bit of timber. We're going to create a slight retaining wall on the garden bed toward the top. So while we leave that to dry, we'll dump down a new piece of baking paper here, because what we're going to do after a couple of days of that drying is now we're just going to take our Knock Static Grass glue, and we're just layering it backwards and forwards with the burnt grass. Basically it's the 2 mil, and I'm actually using a tiny little bit of swampland green and the Peco 4 mil, and I think that's just perfect. And to be honest, ladies and gentlemen, that looks fantastic and is exactly where we're going to stop this video today.
Well, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to stop it there. You can see we're making some good progress. Let's not take up any more of your precious time at the moment. We're obviously going to carry on the process as the materials start arriving, and see where we go to from there. But in the meantime, as always, thank you so much for joining me. Please do stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you in that next one. Toodles!